we thought it'd be great to start in with some steps of like keeping a positive mindset to endure through some tough times and figure things out and to thrive. So we thought we'd get into those so you can have a better mindset. And I want to say too, and this is not, I am not going to say, well, just change your mindset. Like something's terrible, like something terrible's happening in your life and you're like, and then everyone around you is like, hey, you should just be more positive, like change your mindset. And like, that is true, but also like, shut the up. Like,
like, especially when you're battling like actual deep-rooted depression, and it's like, it's not that easy. I have no control over my brain right now. Like, you can't just like,
yeah,
okay,
it's all over.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh my God. Thank you. Be positive.
Thanks.
Didn't think of that.
No.
Struggle with the idea that like I literally can't be, but cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
I hate toxic positivity. Like I am a big believer in toxic positivity. I think be positive, find the positive and whatever, but sometimes it's unrealistic, and that falls into the toxic positivity category.
Literally, like sometimes it gets on my last nerve. But so basically I was just kind of like Googling like what should we talk about or whatever. And I came across this article, and it is based on like 7 types of mindsets to work on to kind of overcome obstacles. And so number 1 on this list was maintain your commitment by choosing goals that matter to you. What do you think about that?
I really like this, and this actually really struck a chord in me because there was a point where I was setting goals for myself that weren't really what I wanted for myself, but more so what I thought I had to be doing because of social media pressure. So I would be seeing other girls doing certain things, and I would be like, okay, I guess this is just what I need to be doing. And I would set these goals, and they weren't, 1, achievable for me, and 2, they weren't even authentic or aligning with anything that had to do with me as a person. So I was literally just faced with the pressure of social media to do things and set these out-of-pocket goals, and there was no way that I could achieve them at all. And not to say for lack of trying, but just they didn't even make sense to me. And because I didn't really connect with them, I had no motivation to even really try to achieve them. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that that's a great point that I wasn't even thinking of, is that there's a lot of times our goals are based on societal goals of what we should be doing and not what we actually want as goals and what we want out of our life. And that's a really great point to make.
And I think that sometimes when people think of setting goals, it has to be a big and elaborate goal or something that is a little bit unattainable. And I think that it could just be something small. I think that not all goals have to be success-based. I think that you could set a small goal for yourself that has to do with something that you enjoy. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could create more fun goals for yourself as well. Like, you know what? I want to start baking, not because you want to have a YouTube channel or not because you want to do X, Y, and Z. It's just because like you want to do that because you enjoy that for yourself. So you want to put that goal into action as being something that's good for you and something that you enjoy instead of like a long-term, huge project goal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like it can be like staying committed to a goal and achieving something like that. It can be like a muscle that you have to work on. So even just starting out with a smaller goals and achieving them and kind of building up from there is going to, like, instead of just jumping in, like, I'm going to do this tomorrow and it's some big, huge thing. And it's like, no, you start small and you really work up that muscle and that, power to do that. But you're right though, but the goals also need to be about protecting your own mental health and protecting your happiness, because the better place you are mentally and the happier you are, the easier and the stronger you are to achieve bigger goals.
And I mean, creating habits, like I'm someone that really tries to form healthy habits and stick to them. But then my life is all over the place. So it's really hard for me to have a strict routine. But in order to get into the mindset of holding one habit, I started creating a very small habit for myself that I would just do. So it could be something as every morning when I wake up, I like to put my slippers on. So I would make sure that every morning when I got up, it's like I got into the process of creating that habit. So it became more natural for me than when I wanted to do a bigger habit. It's like, okay, like I can do this. It's like baby small steps in creating healthy habits for yourself.
Okay, so the second one on the list was muster motivation by staying focused on the positive. And again, not toxic positivity, but realistically focusing on positive aspects of a situation.
Okay. When it's saying like mustering the motivation, for me, I try to focus on the after feeling of accomplishing my goals. So let's say I'm not feeling like I'm in the mood to do a workout. I'll motivate myself and I'll like get myself to do a workout by focusing on the positive aspects of it. And that could be the feeling that I get after a workout. It's incredible. We all love it. And that's what I focus on. Or then I'll think that this small step will lead to my bigger step. So if I go for my walk today or do my exercise, this is going to help me achieve my long-term goal. And it's these small little stepping stones. So that's how I focus on the positive. Like I look for actual positive things that I can get out of doing it.
You literally read my mind when I said that. And I was thinking too, like, that's how I do sometimes too. I think about like, just like with like a workout, I have to think about how I'm going to feel afterwards. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to focus on this or that, but like just going straight to like, how is this going to make me feel and to live in that place? And I'm also very like, I think about even in like a macro level of larger success, I really think about how I'm going to feel and how I'm going to live in that. And you know that I already have my dream house built in an app. Like I literally have been picking out the curtains lately, you know? So I have to achieve this goal because I need to build this house.
Exactly. And I think that when you have positive results in anything that you do, or even if it's just like one glimpse of positivity in a situation, you can use that as your motivator. And because there's a lot of times that I motivate myself with negativity. And I had to actually learn myself how to switch that mindset. So like say I was going to the gym and I didn't want to go, old me would have been like, well, like you're so out of shape, you're so lazy, like you need to get off your ass and just go. And it's just like, I'm just putting myself down. Whereas again, being like, no, you know what? Go to the gym. You deserve that feeling that you love after the gym. Go do that. And it's just more of a positive experience. You're not diminishing yourself either.
Yeah. And you can motivate yourself with negativity and punishment, but it's not sustainable because it's going to collapse down. Because that's what I used to do too. I used to be like, you got to go to the gym because you're fat and no one's going to want you and you're going to be like this and that. And I used to be so mean about it. And I would motivate myself through torturing myself in a way, but it never works out that way. It always collapses. It always reverses. You never keep up with it because it's, as much as you want to try to punish yourself, you really inside don't want to.
Nobody can live like that. It's like you're the boss of yourself. So it's like, you can only work in real life for an asshole for so long and listen to their shit. So when you're treating yourself like that, you're literally treating yourself like a shitty employee in a sense. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't take that for very long. So.
Yes. Okay. So another one on the list is stay ready by watching your energy levels. And I was kind of like, what do they mean by this? But then I read a little more into it and they were saying like your physical energy level, and I was thinking more like positive energy, but no, they mean like your actual energy level in a day. So they're saying, focus on eating foods that's going to power you and give you energy because you're going to need the physical strength and energy and mental strength to push through and to achieve something and overcome something. So they're kind of saying like, make sure you're like eating foods that's going to power you, that's going to energize you, and you're getting enough sleep. You're taking care of yourself so that you can function on a higher level.
See, my thing that I wrote down with this, like I agree with all of that. And the number one thing that I wrote down was sleep. Because my whole life, my mom has always said, you're a kid that needs sleep. You need your sleep. And for some reason, my whole life, I've always struggled with sleep, even though I love it, or I would force myself to stay awake. Like if there was an opportunity I could stay up late, I'm like, I'm an adult. I could stay up late. But I need to go to bed, I also have had to learn that like I need that extra sleep. I need that energy. And like it's okay to admit when I'm really tired, or it's okay to admit that like I want to sleep in a little bit later. Because I have this thing where it's like if I'm sleeping to a certain time, I feel ashamed. I feel like I'm not successful. I can't believe I slept that long. I have a lot of shame with sleeping in. And I feel like I've had to just accept that some days I have to allow my body to sleep. And that's just how I'm built. And I'm lucky because Michael can recognize when like I need that extra sleep, and he'll move around his day sometimes where like he's like, I'll take care of the kids in the morning. But I feel like especially as like a parent, you don't always have the opportunities to get all the sleep obviously that you used to, but prioritizing, or even if midday you have the chance and you're like, you know what? Instead of doing this load of laundry or whatever, I am going to take a nap. And admitting to yourself that that's okay, because I feel like in society, there's like this weird thing where it's like, if you rest, or especially rest in the day, you're automatically lazy, or you're not, do you know what I mean? Like you're not looked at as like a successful, like housewife or like boss or whatever. Like it's really frowned upon, I feel. And I think that it's so important. If your body needs it, then you need to allow the rest.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm such a I'm such an insomniac. Like I told you this morning when you texted me, and I was like, well, I just woke up because the insomnia has been real this week. And a lot of times it's me I'm procrastinating the next day. Do you know what I mean? I'm procrastinating waking up the next morning. And it's not that I don't want to wake up the next morning. It's just that I'm like, I just want to lay here and have a little fun, scroll in my apps and
enjoy it.
Yeah, the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. and I got to get up at 8 or something. So then I start to compound this lack of sleep, and then it catches up to me. So I say to you, there's a lot of times where I've said, like, you know what, I really need to sleep in that morning because I have to catch up. So I think that is something that you do, like you're saying, prioritize that sleep.
And making sure that, like, you're not shaming yourself for it. Because I know a lot of, like, other moms and parents that I've spoken to, and they're like, they feel embarrassed that they need to take a nap, or that they want to take a nap, or that they did take a nap because they're like, I should have been doing this, this, and this. And it's like, you need to keep going. Like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I have like a whole other 8-hour day ahead of me when the kids come home from school. So it's like, if at 2:30 I'm exhausted, and you know what, I have the opportunity to shut my eyes for 30 minutes before I have to pick them up from school, I'm going to. And I've had to allow that because my sleep will control most of the things that I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm a toddler if I'm not sleeping right.
Yeah. We both are. We're both like two little toddlers fighting when we're like exhausted.
Yeah. Like it's not okay. It's not a good scene. Like it's like, even Michael sometimes like, just go to bed. Let me.
Yeah, and I've come to accept that I am a night owl. I am a person who becomes creative and inspired, and the best things come to me at late at night. And I think that, you know, I just accepted I'm a cool artistic person, and I live in my cool artistic world. And that's when I'm very like inspired, and that's when I'm like really creative. And so I've kind of allowed that to be kind of, you know, I'm like, I'm not a 6 a.m. person. I'm not a 5 a.m. person. I want to be, but that's not realistic. I am a night person, but I also do need a routine. And I think that, you know, cool artistic type of people have to have a routine or we spiral out. So I do try to set some like boundaries with sleep and with getting up to do things, but I also allow myself to be up at night, not go to sleep at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So another one was tackle problems by harnessing your imagination.
I'm not going to lie, I didn't get this. Even when I read about it, I don't understand what this means. So please enlighten me.
Okay, good.
What this meant.
Okay, so I have a really great theory on this because this is something that I always give my biggest advice on using your imagination like this. Because I say, like, sometimes when something really crazy happens in your life and it seems like everything's going wrong, all these bad things are happening to you, and you're like, oh my God, the world is beating down on me right now. Like, I'm like, take a minute to panic, take a minute to be anxious, take a minute to be mad, be upset, go have your emotion. But then you gotta stop, and you need to think of solutions. So use your imagination to figure out, how are we going to solve this? How are we going to get through this? What can we do? So like, have your feelings, have your emotions, and then stop and focus on solutions. And then that's the time to really pull your imagination and think of creative ways that you can push through this, overcome this, or whatever it is, you know? And I think that that has been always such a thing that I have focused on in my life, that I have really worked on. And I also say too, like, I say, you know, stop, you know, have your emotions, stop, think about what you can do. And if there is no solution, you need to let it go, because there is no solution. So stressing about it, having anxious about it, being mad about it, being sad, all these things, it's not going to solve the problem. So if you can't find a solution, you need to like let that go and move on.
And then maybe it's hard to do because you want to have that control, but you just have to learn that you can't control everything. And you're right. Like at some point, you just have to let things go and accept you can't control it. It's out of your control. And stressing about it isn't going to do you any good.
No, and maybe you have to come back to it, but all that's going to do is make the situation worse. So that's how I kind of interpret that.
You interpret that way different than I was doing it. I was like, what does it mean use my imagination? Like, am I supposed to like create a scenario in my head with like character? Like, I went to like a child mind at this. So no wonder I didn't.
And I don't know if that's even what they meant by that, but that's what I mean by that. And that is something that
it makes sense.
And that is a formula in my life that I tell everyone about. And that formula is a big part of my life, of when bad things are happening or crazy things are happening or something feels like a mountain that I can't climb. And that's how I go about life, is that formula right there.
I love it.
So the next one is extend yourself more self-compassion.
I am a big believer that, like, especially for myself, I lived in a space for a very long time. When things would happen or go wrong, I would be so hard on myself. And again, speaking to myself as a negative and from a failure aspect. And what I've had to learn is that, again, like we said, does not really get you anywhere. But I've learned in situations where I'm really struggling, or I feel like I've failed, or I feel like anything, I always stop and think, what would I say to my best friend who was in this situation? Because if my best friend was in this situation, I wouldn't be harsh and be like, you're lazy, you're ugly, you're that, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't treat someone that I love like that. I would be honest and say honest things, even if they don't want to hear it, but I speak in a way to my best friend that is very kind and, you know, generous and whatever. So I had to learn, like, you have to treat yourself like your own best friend. Do you know what I mean? Like, I catch myself doing that. Like, if I'm having these negative thoughts and I'm, you know, saying the worst things to myself, I always stop myself and I'm like, okay, is this how you would talk to this person? What if this was this person coming to you? What would you say to them? And then that's how I start speaking to myself internally.
Yeah, I knew that this was a big move for you, because you've helped me a lot through my life with self-compassion, because that was a thought that I had never even thought about. You know, like and it's just like even on some of the clips that we posted of like my interview, I did glance through, and there was a lot of hate comments. But you know what? Here's how I think about it. I'm like, there's nothing you can say that I haven't said worse to myself. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's all you got? That's all you got? Because I can think of a million other better things to say that were meaner to myself. Like, you're not hurting my feelings. But it is, and I think that getting back to the social media aspect is, when TikTok started, like, besides being around you a little bit and learning about body positivity and different things, like, I had never really thought about self-compassion in that way. And you helped me a little bit with that. And then when TikTok came about, it took me to a different world where I really learned about being self-compassionate and like loving yourself and, you know, finding ways to take care of yourself and not being so mean and like taking yourself down. And I think TikTok, and I was thinking about, because when TikTok was going to get banned, and everyone's making their videos of like what they loved about TikTok, that's what I was going to say is like this app taught me to love myself. And that without loving yourself, it's really hard to take yourself to higher places in life and to overcome things, because how can you sell yourself, or how can you prove to everyone else that you are worthy when you don't even think that about yourself? And so you got to find that time to love yourself and to, find the things that you like about yourself, and, make some positive changes maybe that make you love yourself even more. But obviously, like we are perfect as we are. And, there's always room for improvement. But you have to separate all of these things from you as a person, you as a soul, like to separate all of these things that maybe you want to change or you want to whatever, because that's not you. The you is the person inside. And so you have to love that person in order to love yourself enough to help with everything else.
Exactly. That was so well said. I think it's just one of those things that, when I look back at parts of my life when I didn't have a lot of self-worth, and I look at all the situations that I'm in, and it was just like, if I would have had a little bit more self-worth or self-love for myself and genuinely thought that I was worthy of situations, I would have had a way better outcome than what I was getting. And I genuinely feel like once you do start taking the time to respect yourself, respect you as a person, everything will change.
That's really true, because you did to sell yourself that way. So the next one is stop comparing your situation to anyone else's, and that makes sense. I mean, you are not everyone else. We are all different. And honestly, and I feel like too, like once someone's done something, it's already been done. Like you can't just recreate that. You really have to do things your own way. And you really can't compare your situation to other people's, because I know like just in business and other things, you could be like, well, this person got this or this person does that. But then in hindsight, you look back and then be like, well, that was because her uncle was the CEO of that company, or, something like that, and it's just like everyone's situation is different. Everyone's coming from a different place, and you can't compare yourself, because you're never going to get the same thing that somebody else has, because you're two different people with two different lives.
And also too, like when you compare yourself to others, you're really just diminishing yourself. Like when you're comparing yourself, you're taking away from all of the great things that you're doing. And that's happened to me countless times. I'll go on Instagram and I'll feel really good about something that I've just done for work, let's say. And then I'll start scrolling and then I'll see someone else. And I'm just like, holy geez, like what the hell am I even doing? And you're really just taking away from your own self-pride, your own success, and your own happiness, really. I mean, it's one of those things where it's so easy to do and everyone does it. I still do it. But again, it's like you're only hurting yourself, and you just have to accept that that's that person's journey and their life and what they're doing. And hey, if that's something that is triggering something inside of you to bring yourself down, then maybe instead of looking at it from that negative perspective, maybe you have to stop and like really assess and be like, hey, wait a second, maybe that is something that I want. What can I do to work towards that? Do you know what I mean? Like you can't be another person. So you just have to learn how to be someone that you're happy with and just be happy of the achievements that you are doing.
Yeah, I love that. You're so right about that.
I love it.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? We could be having like the time of our life and, have one small little breakthrough. And then you get online and you see someone like huge breakthrough. And then right away, you don't even feel good about yours anymore. It's like, you can't do that, because then you're just discouraging yourself.
Yeah. And you want to be a girl's girl. You don't want to be the girl that's like, or the person that's like, they have this and they're like angry towards them and you beat yourself up and beat them up and all, like not physically, but mentally. And and then they may be like thinking something about like you that like really stands out too. Like in my career, it can be very competitive and I hold myself like to so many other people's standards. But then sometimes I realize, like in hindsight, I've talked to people and they were really like inspired by something that I did. And
Yeah.
I think it's great and I really feel like I like to have one thing that's a red flag for friends is someone who sees someone's success and immediately has to tear them down and to tear themselves down and beat everyone up. When it's so good to see someone's success or see someone doing something and be like, that's really great. I'm so happy for them. And I want to see and learn from them and see if they can inspire me to accomplish something similar or go somewhere similar. And I love that point to it.
Mhm. And things can just be a little bit more collaborative. Like even, like you don't have to take things as a competition. It's, working together. And you're right, like being a girl's girl, like that's what it's about. And and you're right, like you don't know what other people are thinking of you. Like I remember showing up to a photo shoot once and being so nervous to be there because it was like a really big project, whatever. And I remember one of the models was telling me that she was nervous to work with me. And I was blown away. I'm like, because I was nervous to be there. And I'm thinking, like, I'm just like in my mind, I'm like, I don't really deserve to be here. Like, how did I get here? Like, whatever. And then the other model is telling me that she was nervous to work with me. So it's like, I didn't understand what she was saying, but it was very different than how I was viewing myself.
Exactly. And that's the thing too. People view you very differently than you view yourself. And I've learned that a lot in my life. So the final one is gain momentum by tracking your progress.
Whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I mean, I think, you know, when you are trying to overcome something, you're trying to accomplish someone, you're trying to accomplish something, you're trying to do whatever, you may look at the big picture and you're like, I'm so far away from that. I'm not getting there. I'm not doing anything. But then if you look at the individual little progresses, you're like, wow, I did that and I did that. And there's moments to really celebrate along the way. And I think that that's really important to focus on the progress and focus on the accomplishments of the small things to get there. Because if you're over here looking like I wanted to accomplish this big thing and you're like, I'm not doing it. It's not happening for me. It's not happening. But if you look, you're like, well, I accomplished this and I accomplished that and I did this, and be proud of yourself that you were able to do that and celebrate those and allow those accomplishments to inspire you to accomplish the next steps and the next things. And eventually you're going to get there.
And I think that that's a time too where you can start to really just practice your gratitude. When you are looking at the things that you've done, really being grateful and excited for yourself that you have accomplished them. And then I think that that will help lead you up the next steps, but really just being thankful that you were able to accomplish it. And I think that if you have that sense of gratitude towards it, you will appreciate the overall experience of reaching your goals differently.
Yes. And I hate, like, I used to get so like, oh, gratitude journal. That's so lame. And however you want to do it though, but just, it doesn't have to be this like, I'm writing in my daily gratitude journal, which that can be a really amazing tool for some people. It really is. But I do think but do take the time to stop and celebrate those small things and be grateful for this, accomplishing this or accomplishing that. And even sometimes I can look at like my life and be like, oh, everything bad's happened to me and it's been so hard and it's been this and it's been that. But if I really stop and I think about all of these things that I have accomplished or things that I did, and there's so many things that I have gratitude for and I am grateful for. And it's hard for me to not compare those to other people in my industry or other people's things, but to see those at a base level and be like, wow, that is really amazing that happened. That is insane that I was able to do that. And just use that to kind of stay in that mindset of being grateful for things. And it can be hard to be, if you think of it on a macro level or a large level, it can be hard to like be grateful for something, because it could seem not so great, but think of the individual small steps, the little things, and even some of the big things that's happened, and be grateful for those and let that inspire you to keep going, and don't get lost in the cloud of this huge thing and think I'm far away from that or whatever, because you've made some steps and a lot of people, haven't done that. So be grateful that you've done that.
And enjoy the process.
Yes.
Oh
So
my God, this was so much. Are we like inspirational women now?
we are basically the Dalai Lamas. And
It's not a TED Talk. Like, what was this? Who are we?
move over, Oprah. We're snatching your throne, girl.
Girl, we're coming for it.
But no, this was good. This was fun. And I feel good about sharing some of our wisdom.
We're very wise women.
Yeah.